The stars had always called to humanity. For 200 years, they answered that call quietly, building colonies on distant worlds, researching technologies that others said were impossible, and staying hidden from the greater powers of the galaxy. They knew they were not alone. They had seen the massive ships of alien empires passing through distant systems. They had intercepted strange communications in languages no human could understand. But they chose to remain invisible, watching and waiting and growing stronger in the shadows. Admiral Park Do-hoon stood on the bridge of the HSS Defiance, humanity's most advanced warship. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too many battles. The ship moved silently through the Kepler system, its sensors scanning the empty space around them. It was supposed to be a routine patrol mission. Nothing ever happened in this forgotten corner of the galaxy. Then the alarms began to scream. A ship appeared from nowhere, dropping out of faster-than-light travel directly in front of them. It was enormous, 3 times the size of the Defiance, and made of something that looked like living crystal. Light pulsed through its structure like blood through veins. Park had never seen anything like it. "Admiral," his communications officer said, her voice shaking, "they are hailing us." The view screen flickered and showed a face that was not human. The being was tall and thin, its body made of the same crystal as its ship. Light moved inside it, forming patterns that might have been emotions or thoughts. When it spoke, its voice rang like bells. "I am Thelmac of the Vorath hegemony. You are humans. Your presence has been noted by the Galaxy Council. You will send representatives to Nexara Prime within 30 cycles. There you will be evaluated for integration into galactic civilization. This is not a request." The screen went dark before Park could respond. The crystal ship turned and vanished into the stars, leaving the Defiance alone in the cold silence of space. Park stood very still for a long moment. Then he turned to his crew. "Send a priority message to Earth. Maximum encryption. Tell them we have a problem." 2 weeks later, President Yoon Mirai sat in the emergency chamber beneath the government building in Seoul. The room was filled with the most powerful people on Earth. Military commanders, intelligence directors, scientists, and diplomats all waited for her to speak. On the wall, screens showed the alien message playing on repeat. "We always knew this day would come," the president said. Her voice was calm, but her hands were tight on the table. "We hoped we would have more time." Intelligence Director Choi Yuna stood and activated a holographic display. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a reputation for knowing things no one else knew. The display showed a map of the galaxy with 12 regions marked in different colors. "The Galaxy Council has ruled this galaxy for 4,000 years, she said. 12 species founded it. They call themselves the Elder Races. Every other species discovered since then has been assigned a subordinate role. They are not partners. They are servants." The room was silent. "What happens to species that refuse?" a general asked. Choi Yuna changed the display. It showed 17 star systems, each one marked with a red X. "They are destroyed, completely. The Council leaves no survivors and no records. These species existed once. Now even their names are forgotten." President Yoon closed her eyes. When she opened them, her decision was made. "We will send a diplomatic mission. We will try to negotiate." "Madam President," Admiral Park said from his seat, "with respect, they are not offering negotiation. They are offering slavery or death." "I know." The president looked at him directly. "But we must try peace first. The people of Earth deserve to know we tried everything before we asked them to die." She paused. "However, Admiral, I am also authorizing you to activate all contingency plans. If diplomacy fails, we will not go quietly." Park nodded slowly. "Understood, Madam President." The diplomatic team was chosen with great care. Ambassador Kang Junho would lead the mission. He was old now, his hair completely white, but his mind was still sharp. He had ended wars with words alone. If anyone could find a path through this darkness, it was him. Shinhana would accompany him as cultural attaché. She was young and brilliant, an expert in alien psychology who had spent her life studying the few scraps of information humanity had gathered about galactic civilization. Captain Beck Taman was assigned as military liaison. He was a soldier, not a diplomat, but he was also calm under pressure and absolutely loyal. If things went wrong, he would get the others home. The night before departure, Junho stood alone on the observation deck of their ship, watching Earth turn slowly below. He had read every file, studied every report, analyzed every scrap of intelligence about the Galaxy Council. The pattern was always the same. New species were discovered, evaluated, and subordinated. Those who resisted were eliminated. There were no exceptions. Ambassador. Shinhana appeared beside him. The crew is ready. Junho did not look away from Earth. When I was young, I believed that all intelligent beings could find common ground. That communication could solve any problem. He smiled sadly. I am not young anymore. Do you think we can succeed? I think we must try. He finally turned to face her. And I think humanity must prepare for the possibility that trying will not be enough. The ship's engines hummed to life. Slowly they pulled away from Earth, away from everything humanity had built, toward a meeting with beings who had already decided their fate. Behind them, in hidden facilities across human space, Admiral Park Do-hun began waking up weapons that the galaxy did not know existed. The journey to Nexara Prime took 3 weeks through hyperspace corridors controlled by the Council. Ambassador Kang Junho spent that time studying, sleeping little, eating less. He read everything humanity knew about the 12 elder races. He memorized their customs, their histories, their conflicts with each other. He searched for any weakness, any opening, any chance to change what seemed inevitable. He found nothing. Captain Bayek Taman spent his time differently. He walked the ship, checking systems, talking to crew members, keeping everyone calm. He knew they might not survive this mission. He accepted that. But he would not let fear spread among his people. Shinhana studied the other species, the Subordinates. 35 civilizations lived under council rule, doing the work the elder races considered beneath them. Mining, farming, building, serving. Some had been subordinate for thousands of years. They had forgotten they ever had freedom. When the ship finally emerged from hyperspace, everyone gathered on the bridge to see Nexara Prime. What they saw stole their breath away. The planet was larger than Earth, wrapped in layers of floating cities that hung in the atmosphere like jewels on strings. Massive rings orbited above, casting shadows across entire continents. Ships of every size and shape moved between stations, a constant flow of traffic serving the heart of galactic civilization. But the council chamber itself was the true wonder. It was carved into a mountain so large it could be seen from orbit, a structure of impossible scale that could hold a fleet of starships within its halls. This was where the galaxy was ruled. This was where humanity's fate would be decided. The human ship landed on a platform reserved for petitioners. Servants of a dozen species waited to guide them, beings with too many legs or no legs at all, beings of metal and light and things harder to describe. None of them spoke. They simply pointed the way forward. The walk to the chamber took almost an hour through corridors of black stone and glowing crystal. Junho noticed that the architecture was designed to make visitors feel small. The ceilings rose too high. The passages were too wide. Everything reminded you that you were nothing compared to the power that waited ahead. Finally, they reached the chamber itself. 12 thrones circled a vast open space, each one occupied by a representative of the elder races. The Vorath were there, beings of living crystal like the ambassador who had found them. The Kresh were massive armored reptiles, their scales thick as tank armor, their eyes full of ancient violence. The Sindari floated in the air, their translucent bodies filled with swirling light, telepaths who had ruled minds for millennia. Other species sat in their places, some beautiful, some terrifying, all radiating power that had gone unchallenged for 4,000 years. High Arbiter Velkos rose from the central throne. He was Sindari, ancient beyond measure, his light dimmed by age, but his presence still overwhelming. When he spoke, his voice appeared directly in their minds, bypassing their ears entirely. Humanity, you have been discovered. You have expanded without permission. You have developed technology without approval. The Council will now hear your petition and determine your place in the Galactic Order. Junho stepped forward. His heart was beating fast, but his voice was steady. High Arbiter, honored representatives of the Council, I bring greetings from the people of Earth. We come seeking not conflict but partnership. Humanity offers friendship, cooperation, and the unique perspectives of our civilization. He spoke for almost an hour. He talked about human history, the struggles that had forged them, the art and music and philosophy they had created. Shin Hana presented recordings of Earth's greatest achievements, symphonies that made the air seem to sing, paintings that captured light itself, poetry that had moved billions to tears. The Council watched in silence. When Junho finished, he waited for a response. For a moment, hope flickered in his chest. Perhaps they had listened. Perhaps his words had reached them. Then the Kresh representative laughed. It was a terrible sound, deep and rumbling, full of contempt. This creature speaks of partnership. It shows us noise and colored shapes. Does it truly believe this changes anything? The Vorath delegate rippled with dismissive light. Their technology is primitive. 2 centuries of development, and they have achieved nothing remarkable. They would be adequate for simple labor, nothing more. The Chithari, beings like giant insects with clicking mandibles, made sounds that the translators converted to speech. Humans are small but numerous. They would serve well in mining operations where larger species cannot fit. Junho felt his hope die. These beings were not interested in what humanity could offer. They saw only what humanity could serve. High Arbiter Velkos raised one luminous hand, silencing the chamber. The Council has heard the petition. We have evaluated the evidence. Our judgment is rendered. His telepathic voice filled the room like cold water filling a drowning man's lungs. Humanity is hereby designated Subordinate Species Class 3. This is the lowest classification. You will immediately surrender all military vessels to Council control. Your population will be managed according to labor requirements. Your colonies will be redistributed to serve Council needs. You have 30 cycles to comply. Captain Bayek Taemin stepped forward before Junho could stop him. And if we refuse? Velkos did not seem angry. He seemed almost amused. A holographic display appeared in the air, showing ships beyond counting, weapons beyond imagining, the combined military might of 12 civilizations that had dominated the galaxy for 4,000 years. Then you cease to exist. Your worlds will be reduced to ash. Your people will be hunted to the last child. Your name will be erased from history. This has happened 17 times before. You would not be the first, and you will not be the last. Junho stood very still. His diplomatic training kept his face calm, but inside, something was breaking. We request time to communicate this decision to our government. Granted, you have 10 cycles. Use them well. They may be the last your species ever knows. The audience was over. The humans were led out through different corridors, longer ones, passing through areas where subordinate species worked in silence. Servants of 100 worlds performing 1,000 tasks, their spirits broken by generations of servitude. As they walked, Shinhana noticed the subordinates watching them. Not with curiosity, not with pity, with something else entirely, something that looked almost like hope. "They know," she whispered to Junho. "They know what we are going to do." Junho shook his head. "We have not decided what we are going to do." "Yes, we have." Captain Bayek's voice was quiet but certain. "We decided the moment we left Earth. We just did not want to admit it." The ambassador closed his eyes. The captain was right. There had never been a choice at all. The message reached Earth at the speed of light through quantum channels the Council did not know existed. Within hours, every human being alive knew what had happened. The Galaxy Council had declared them slaves, 30 cycles to submit or die. The reaction was immediate and violent. In cities across Earth, people flooded the streets. Some screamed in fear, demanding that the government comply, begging for survival at any cost. Others burned alien symbols and shouted for war, refusing to bow even if it meant extinction. Families fought with each other, friends became enemies, the entire human race seemed to be tearing itself apart. President Yoon Mireille watched the chaos from her office, her face unreadable. Director Choi Yuna stood beside her, silent and waiting. On the screens, 100 different broadcasts showed 100 different opinions about what humanity should do. "They want an answer," Choi Yuna said quietly. "They want hope," the president replied. "I'm not sure I can give them that." She turned away from the screens and walked to her desk. For a long moment she stood there, looking at a photograph of her children, her grandchildren, the future that might cease to exist within a month. Then she pressed a button. "Prepare the broadcast. I will address the assembly in 1 hour." The United Earth Assembly Chamber was filled beyond capacity. Representatives from every nation, every colony, every human settlement in the galaxy watched as President Yoon took the podium. The entire species held its breath. She did not speak immediately. She looked out at the faces before her, at the fear and anger and desperate hope in their eyes. Then she began. 200 years ago, humanity reached for the stars. We did not know what we would find. We hoped for friends. We prepared for enemies. We found neither. She paused. We found masters who had already decided we would be slaves. Her voice hardened. The Galaxy Council has given us a choice. Submit to their rule, surrender our ships, accept their control over our lives and the lives of our children forever, or be destroyed completely, erased from existence as 17 species before us were erased. They believe these are our only options. They are wrong. We did not survive ice ages by submitting. We did not survive plagues by surrendering. We did not survive world wars and nuclear threats and the near death of our planet by accepting the limits others placed upon us. Her eyes found the cameras. We survived because we refused to die. We survived because we fought. My answer to the Galaxy Council is this. We decline. We will not be slaves. We will not kneel. And we will not be erased. The chamber erupted. Some cheered. Others wept. Many simply stared in shock at what their leader had just committed them to. But the president was not finished. "I know you are afraid. I am afraid too. The council has 40,000 warships. They have weapons that have destroyed civilizations. They have 4,000 years of power behind them." She smiled then, a small, dangerous smile. "But they do not know what we have." The screens behind her changed, showing images that made the assembly fall silent. Ships. Hundreds of ships hidden in asteroid fields and dimensional pockets, built in secret over 2 centuries. Technology that human scientists had developed while the galaxy slept, advances the Council had never imagined. weapons that operated on principles the elder races had forgotten or never discovered. Director Choi Yuna took the podium and began explaining. While humanity had played the part of invisible newcomers, they had been preparing for this moment. They had studied council technology and found it stagnant, unchanged for millennia. They had pushed their own science forward at incredible speed. Dimensional phasing, gravity manipulation, faster-than-light communication that bypassed all known systems, and weapons, terrible weapons, that could do things the galaxy had never seen. The Council stopped advancing 4,000 years ago, Choi Yuna said. Why would they improve? No one challenged them. No one pushed them. They have been standing still while we have been running as fast as we could. We are smaller than them. We are younger than them, but we are not weaker than them. Not anymore. Admiral Park Do-hoon appeared on the screens from his command center, surrounded by displays showing the hidden fleet coming to life. Operation Silent Thunder is active. All vessels are moving to defensive positions. When the Council comes, we will be ready. The broadcast ended. Across human space, the reaction was complicated. Fear remained. Doubt remained. But something else was growing now, something that had been sleeping in human hearts since the first cave dwellers looked up at the stars and refused to believe they were small. Hope and anger, and the absolute refusal to go quietly into the dark. The 10 cycles passed quickly. Ambassador Kang Junho prepared to return to Nexara Prime alone. Before he left, he met with President Yoon one final time. They will threaten you, she said. They will show you their fleets and their weapons. They will promise destruction. Junho nodded. I know. Do not flinch. Do not show fear. Let them believe until the last moment that they are in control. She handed him a small device. When you deliver our response, activate this. The rest will follow. And if I do not return? The president met his eyes. Then you will have died for something that matters. So will we all. If it comes to that. But at least we will die standing. Junho took the device and placed it in his pocket. He bowed once, deeply, to the leader of humanity. Then he walked to his ship and flew alone into the darkness, carrying the answer that would change the galaxy forever. The council chamber was the same as before, vast and cold and designed to make visitors feel like insects. The 12 thrones held the same ancient beings. High Arbiter Velkos waited at the center, confident in his power, certain that the humans had come to surrender. Ambassador Kang Junho walked to the center of the chamber. He did not bow. He did not show fear. He stood straight and tall, a single human being facing the masters of the galaxy. You have returned, Velkos said. The council is pleased. Present your terms of compliance. Junho smiled. It was the smile of a man who had already accepted death and found peace on the other side. The people of Earth, speaking with one voice, respectfully decline your offer of subordination. Silence. Then Velkos's telepathic fury filled the chamber like a storm. You condemn your species to extinction. Perhaps. Junho reached into his pocket and pulled out the device the president had given him. Or perhaps you have made a terrible mistake. He pressed the button. Across the galaxy, humanity revealed itself. The council did not wait. Within hours of receiving humanity's refusal, the order was given. 12 fleets launched from 12 homeworlds, the combined military power of civilizations that had ruled the galaxy since before humans learned to make fire. 40,000 warships carrying weapons that had shattered worlds. Crews numbering in the billions, all eager to crush the arrogant primitives who had dared to refuse their masters. The admirals of the council fleet joked with each other during the journey. The Kresh commander boasted that he would mount human skulls on his bridge as trophies. The Vorath admiral calculated how many resources could be extracted from Earth's solar system after the humans were gone. The Sindari captain practiced the telepathic torture techniques he would use on any survivors. None of them were worried. How could they be? They had destroyed 17 civilizations before this one. The humans were young, primitive, alone. This would not be a battle. It would be an execution. The combined fleet emerged from hyperspace into the Sol system, weapons charged and ready. They found nothing. Earth hung in the void, blue and beautiful and completely undefended. The orbital stations were dark and empty. No ships rose to meet them, no weapons fired, no communications begged for mercy. The admirals exchanged confused messages. Had the humans fled, hidden themselves somewhere in their system, or had they simply given up, accepting their fate in silence? The Kresh commander laughed. Cowards! They talk of defiance, but run when we arrive. All ships forward. Claim the planet. Find any survivors and bring them to me. The fleet moved toward Earth in perfect formation, thousands of vessels blocking out the stars. They were halfway to the planet when reality itself seemed to break. The fabric of space tore open along invisible lines. Light poured through cracks that should not exist, and from those cracks came ships. Human ships. Admiral Park Do-hoon stood on the bridge of the HSS Defiance, watching the Council fleet scramble into defensive positions. Around him, humanity's true navy emerged from dimensional space, vessel after vessel phasing into existence until they surrounded the enemy completely. These were not the primitive ships the Council expected. The Defiance alone matched the largest Council dreadnought in size. The human carriers were even larger, dark shapes that seemed to drink in light. Every vessel radiated energies that Council sensors could not identify, powered by technologies the elder races had never imagined. Park activated the communication system. His voice reached every Council ship at once. Admirals of the Galaxy Council, you have entered sovereign human space with hostile intent. This is your only warning. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The response came from the Kresh commander, his voice thick with disbelief and rage. You dare threaten us? You are insects. Your tricks change nothing. He turned to his weapons officer. Destroy them! 1,000 missiles launched from the Kresh formation, screaming toward the Defiance on trails of fire. Park did not flinch. Countermeasures! The missiles stopped in flight, not destroyed, not deflected. Simply stopped, held in place by gravitational fields that the Council had never seen before. Then slowly, they began to turn. The missiles rotated in space until they faced the ships that had launched them. Return to sender, Park said quietly. The missiles flew back the way they had come. Explosions bloomed across the Kresh formation as their own weapons tore through their own shields. 3 dreadnoughts died in the first minute. The battle had begun. Captain Bakhtamin commanded a strike force of fast attack ships. They phased in and out of normal space like ghosts, appearing behind enemy vessels, firing and vanishing before the Council could respond. The Chithari carrier group, pride of the insectoid fleet, was crippled in 11 minutes. Their commander died still trying to understand what was happening. Commander Lee Soo-jin led the Dimensional Warfare Division. Her ships created pockets of altered space that trapped enemy vessels, holding them motionless, while human weapons tore them apart. The Sindari telepaths tried to attack her crew with their minds, but found their powers blocked by technology they could not comprehend. Commodore Han Ji-woo commanded the heavy battle group. Her ships waded into the center of the Council formation, their shields absorbing fire that should have destroyed them, their weapons punching through defenses that had never been breached before. 3 Vorath admirals surrendered to her personally when their flagships fell. The Council fleet fought back with everything they had. 4,000 years of military tradition, the accumulated weapons of 12 civilizations, the desperate fury of beings who had never known defeat. They destroyed human ships. They killed human crews. They fought like the ancient warriors they believed themselves to be. But they were fighting the future with the weapons of the past. Human vessels phased through solid matter. Human weapons collapsed local space around enemy ships, crushing them into points of light. When the Vorath flagship tried to escape into hyperspace, a human cruiser generated a gravity well so intense that the massive vessel was torn apart, stretched into a stream of glowing debris. 4 hours after the battle began, it was over. The Council had lost 18,000 ships. Debris fields stretched across the solar system. The remains of fleets that had conquered galaxies, now nothing but floating wreckage. The survivors, perhaps 10,000 vessels, hung motionless in space, their weapons offline, their crews too shocked to move. Humanity had lost 212 ships. Each loss hurt, each crew was mourned, but the battle was won. Admiral Park Do-hun opened a direct channel to Nexara Prime, bypassing all Council communication systems. His face appeared on screens across the galaxy, in the Council chamber itself, where High Arbiter Velkos stood surrounded by terrified advisors. High Arbiter, your fleet has been neutralized. Your technology has proven inferior. Your assumptions about humanity have been demonstrated incorrect. Park's voice was calm, almost gentle. You threatened to erase us from existence. You promised our children would watch their parents die. You said the galaxy would not notice our absence. He leaned forward slightly. The galaxy will notice yours. Velkos's telepathic voice was stripped of its ancient confidence. Fear, raw and naked, colored every thought he broadcast. What do you want? We want a conversation, but this time we will set the terms. Park smiled, and there was no mercy in it. We will see you soon. The channel closed. Across human space, celebrations erupted. On Earth, people danced in the streets, weeping with joy and relief. In the fleet, crews embraced each other, overwhelmed by the impossible victory they had achieved. But Admiral Park did not celebrate. He stood alone on his bridge, looking out at the stars, thinking about what came next. They had won the battle. Now they had to win the peace. The human delegation returned to Nexara Prime 1 month after the battle. This time, everything was different. Ambassador Kang Junho walked into the council chamber flanked by Admiral Park Do-hun and a full honor guard of human marines in powered armor. Behind them came representatives of Earth's government, scientists, cultural advisors, and military commanders. They did not walk with the hesitation of petitioners. They walked with the confidence of victors. The 12 thrones still circled the chamber, but the beings who sat in them had changed. The Kresh representative's throne was empty. Their government had collapsed in the chaos following the military disaster. The surviving elder races would not meet human eyes. Some trembled visibly. Others sat in rigid silence, unable to process what had happened to their ancient power. High Arbiter Velkos rose slowly from his throne. He was trying to maintain dignity, but his light flickered with barely contained fear. Humanity has proven itself formidable, he said, his telepathic voice carefully controlled. The Council is prepared to discuss revised terms of integration. We offer subordinate Class 1 status, with certain privileges and protections. No. Junho's voice was quiet, but it carried through the chamber like thunder. Every being present felt the weight of that single word. Velkos's light flickered again. The Council does not understand its position. Junho stepped forward until he stood directly before the High Arbiter's throne. You ruled through fear and the threat of violence. That threat is broken. Your fleets are debris floating in our solar system. Your technological superiority was an illusion built on 4,000 years of stagnation. You have nothing left to threaten us with. Then what do you want? The Vorath delegate's crystalline voice cracked with barely hidden panic. Revenge? Will you destroy us as you claim we plan to destroy you? No. Junho shook his head. We are not you. We did not come here for conquest or revenge. We came here for something you have never understood." He gestured, and Shin Hana stepped forward carrying a data tablet. "We came for change." The document she presented contained humanity's demands, not terms of surrender, not conditions for peace, a plan for transformation, the immediate abolition of the subordinate species classification system. No more slaves, no more servants, no more lesser beings serving the comfort of the elder races. Full equal membership for all current subordinate species, with voting rights in council proceedings. 35 civilizations that had been silenced for millennia would finally have voices. The dissolution of all forced labor arrangements, the mining colonies, the agricultural worlds, the factory stations where subordinate peoples worked themselves to death, all would be transformed into free communities. Technology sharing protocols that would lift all species to equal capability. No more hoarding advances, no more keeping others weak. Democratic reforms to the council itself. The 12 founding species would no longer rule supreme. Leadership would rotate. Decisions would require consensus. The galaxy would govern itself together. And finally, war crimes tribunals for those who had ordered the destruction of the 17 lost species. Justice for civilizations that had been erased from existence. Velkos read the demands in silence. When he looked up, his ancient eyes held something that might have been genuine confusion. "You cannot expect us to surrender everything our civilization has built over 4 millennia. We expect you to stop building your civilization on the suffering of others." Junho's tone hardened. "This is not negotiable." "And if we refuse?" Junho had prepared for this question. "Then humanity withdraws from galactic affairs entirely. We seal our borders with technology you cannot penetrate, and we begin reaching out to every subordinate species in your territory, offering them the same technology that destroyed your fleets." The implications landed like physical blows. The Council's power rested on keeping subordinate species weak and divided. If humanity started arming the oppressed, sharing technology with the enslaved, the entire structure would collapse. Not through human conquest, but through 1,000 simultaneous uprisings from peoples who had dreamed of freedom for generations. "You would cause chaos," Velkos whispered. "Civilization would fall. Your civilization deserves to fall." Junho let the words hang in the air. "But we are offering you a chance to build something better, a galaxy where power comes from cooperation instead of domination, where every species can reach its full potential, where the mistakes of the past do not define the future. You ask us to give up everything we have? We ask you to share it." Junho's voice softened slightly. 4,000 years ago you were explorers too. You reached for the stars just as we did. Somewhere along the way you forgot what that felt like. You forgot the wonder of discovery, the joy of growth, the thrill of becoming something more than you were before. He paused. "We are offering you the chance to remember." The council deliberated for 6 hours. Humanity waited in an antechamber, talking quietly among themselves, preparing for whatever answer came. In the end, the elder races had no choice. Their military power was broken. Their technological advantage was gone. Their subordinate populations were watching, waiting, hoping. If the Council refused humanity's offer, they would face revolution from within and pressure from without. They accepted. 1 year later, Ambassador Kang Junho addressed the newly reformed Galactic Assembly. The chamber had been rebuilt. Instead of 12 thrones, there were now 47 seats arranged in a circle, each one equal to the others. The 12 elder races sat among 35 former subordinate species, all with equal voices, equal votes, equal dignity. President Yoon Mirai attended through quantum hologram, watching the proceedings with quiet pride. Beside her, Director Choi Yuna reviewed reports showing improving stability across former council territory. Admiral Park Do-hun had been promoted to Fleet Admiral of the new Galactic Defense Force, a military built to protect all species equally. Junho stood at the center of the assembly and spoke. "We were called subordinate. We were promised extinction. We were told we had no choice but to submit or die. They believed we would break." He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of beings from dozens of worlds. They did not understand what humanity is. We are not the strongest species in this galaxy. We are not the oldest. We are not the wisest, but we have something the elder races forgot long ago. We have the fire. The fire that drives us to climb higher when we are told to stay down. The fire that makes us build when others destroy. The fire that refuses to accept any limit, any boundary, any cage that others try to put around us. That fire now burns for all of you. Every species that was told they were lesser. Every civilization that was forced to serve. Every child who grew up believing they would never be free. Junho's voice rose. "You are not subordinate. You never were, and you never will be again." The assembly rose in applause. Some cheered with voices, some with tentacles or light patterns or sounds beyond human hearing. But all of them, every being in that chamber, felt the same thing. Hope. Among the former subordinate species, Shin Hana noticed children watching from the galleries. Children of a dozen worlds, seeing for the first time that their futures were not predetermined, that the powerful could be challenged. That change was possible. She thought about the fear she had felt on their first visit to this chamber. The certainty that humanity would be crushed, erased, forgotten. She thought about all the people who had worked and sacrificed and died to bring them to this moment. It had been worth it. Every moment of fear, every life lost, every impossible choice. Humanity had come to the stars and found an empire built on fear and slavery. They left behind a galaxy learning freedom and hope. And somewhere in the rebuilt chamber, a Sindari child who had never known anything but servitude looked up at the human ambassador and smiled. For the first time in 4,000 years, the future was unwritten. For the first time in 4,000 years, anything was possible.